Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Carol at Big Cat Rescue. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different for the Big Cat Briefing. Our PR director, Susan Bass, has a wonderful private investigator who is not wanting us to release their information as to who they are, but they do an amazing job of finding all of the dirt on all of the bad guys. We just recently posted this page called Wakati Zoological Farm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Now, I thought there was only one place in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina that I hated for all of the exploitation that I believe they do to tiger cubs and liger cubs and liger cubs and lion cubs and all of the poor babies that are bred and ripped from their mothers and used for those pay to play sessions. And it turns out there's a place there where the conditions are equally awful. And I wanted you guys to hear about it since we just posted this page. I'm just going to read the page to you, and I'll show you the images as well as I go through and give you a little bit of a heads up on what you're looking at there. So this first picture is a tiger, and this is a great big gaping wound in that tiger. People ask us all the time, why don't your tigers live together? Tigers are not primates. They're not like us. They don't want to be with other primates. Or, well, actually, they would like to be with primates because they would eat them. But tigers don't want to be with other tigers. Lions don't want to be with other lions unless they are family members that were raised together in the wild by their mothers and their aunts, not just all thrown together. So whenever you put lions or tigers or other big cats in cages with each other, this is what happens. They tear each other to pieces. And so that's why we don't introduce adult cats here. But this Kathleen M. Futrell does business as Wakati Zoo, and her USDA license is 56-C-0230. In January of 2020, we conducted some online research of the Wakati Zoo in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and it's one of the worst places we've ever researched, and that's saying something. The majority of the Wakati's online reviews include photos of severely emaciated, injured, mangy, sick, and dying animals crammed into small, muddy cages, along with incredulity that the whole place hasn't been shut down yet. If these were domestic pets, they would have been confiscated and the owners charged for much, much less than what's going on here. These conditions wouldn't be out of place in a third world country tiger farm, yet here they are in 2020 near a major U.S. resort town. All of these photos have been taken at Wakati Zoo in the last few years. Wakati's owner and staff are reportedly very flippant about the condition of the animals and act as though they are entitled to have them. Multiple reviewers claim that the owners rudely insisted that obviously dead animals were sleeping. One keeper was observed smoking in the animal pens, and at least one animal died of a known illness which deliberately went untreated on the grounds until he was too old to save. Video recording is banned on the premises, and usually that is a sure tell sign of animal abuse, and the owners have repeatedly refused offers of help. They clearly appear to have no intention of improving conditions for the animals, having ignored USDA orders to do so since 2018. This leopard here you can see is just covered in mange, and all around the eyes the mange has just eaten away the skin and the fur there. Even though Wakati has been in blatant violation of local, state, and federal animal cruelty laws for decades, they remain open with no legal penalty because the USDA just keeps citing them repeatedly with no consequences, no matter how many times people complain. Every branch of South Carolina law enforcement that's been contacted so far refuses to investigate, claiming that it's outside their jurisdiction. Maybe this is why South Carolina seems to be such a haven for abusive roadside attractions. This tiger is so angry, as you can tell from the way he's crouched down and snarling and has his ears back. There's just nothing that should happen in a cage that would cause a cat to do that. This appears to be the current legal situation. The creators of the Close Wakati Zoo Facebook page recently contacted the South Carolina Department of Agriculture and received this response. I appreciate your contact to express concern about the Wakati Zoo in Myrtle Beach. Unfortunately, SDCA does not have regulatory authority over this type of operation to investigate these claims. You are probably aware that the state of South Carolina gives responsibility to regulate animal welfare or potential animal abuse investigations to the local authorities at the county level. This means that the local animal control or sheriff's department will investigate these reports, depending on who is designated in your county. If you have concerns about how local authorities are handling animal care and control, you could try notifying the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, which is the acronym for that is SLED. This picture of this lioness here, you can barely see it through all of the layers of wire, but it looks like the coat is like really, really patchy and probably mangy. It's just really hard to tell, and you can see this cat is just living in filth. The South Carolina State Law Enforcement Division, SLED, was then contacted and passed the buck to the feds. The response from SLED was, the provisions of the Animal Welfare Act are enforced by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which enact regulations to implement those provisions. The USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, APHIS, conducts annual inspections of all licensed facilities and generally oversees compliance. SLED would not investigate something like this. Well, SLED should investigate something like this because look at the way that this lion is being kept. That is just, it's such a tiny cage and just disgusting the way that this cage is containing this poor cat. And you can see he looks so miserable. PETA has reached out to the local law enforcement in Horry County, where Wakati is located, urging them to investigate, only to be told that the Wakati Zoo is under the purview of the USDA and outside of its jurisdiction. Despite what Horry County claims, South Carolina's cruelty statutes absolutely give county sheriffs and local police the authority and responsibility to obtain search warrants and seize any animal from any owner when there is reasonable cause to believe that the laws in relation to cruelty to animals have been or are being violated in any particular building or place. Other county sheriffs have used this authority to rescue domestic animals from cruel conditions. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office recently seized 40 dogs from a puppy mill, for example. There is nothing in the state regulations which somehow exempt USDA licensed zoos from state and local cruelty laws. In fact, state law allows that the South Carolina SPCA to place confiscated animals at other facilities, and I know they would be happy to shut down the Wakati. They have been trying to do so for years now. So as far as I can tell, there's no legitimate reason for Horry County law enforcement to refuse responsibility for this situation. And when you look at the filth on that platform there and this cage where this poor cat is being kept in this filthy, muddy pen, and the poor thing just looks desperate. PETA believes that a new potential legal avenue to rescue at least some of the animals would be to argue that Wakati is not in compliance with the new South Carolina state law banning the private ownership of big cats, bears, and great apes. This law, ironically, was pushed for by Bhagavan Antal to prevent more regulation of his business, but there were some loopholes in it which could potentially allow the state to seize big cats from private zoos. In a nutshell, the law bans the possession of big cats, non-native bears, and great apes. It exempts valid USDA license holders and existing owners, but only if said licensee is in compliance with the U.S. Department of Agricultural Animal Welfare Act regulations and standards as of January 1st, 2018. It's another terrible barren cage with a depressed looking tiger living in it. And you can see wire there is just covered in rust. We know that Wakati has several repeat non-compliance inspections on their record for many years now, so they aren't in compliance with this law. which means that animal control authorities should have the legal right to confiscate the big cats and bears under probable cause that Wakati is keeping them in contravention of the law. Animal control also has the power to confiscate exotic animals in imminent danger of loss of life as a result of the action or inaction of the possessor as determined by a veterinarian. The new law also stipulates fines and jail time for violators and provides a mechanism for confiscated big cats to be sent to out-of-state facilities, potentially permanently, depending on a judge's ruling. This tiger, you can see every bone down the back of this cat's back, and you can see he's not been neutered, so you gotta believe they're probably hoping to breed more cubs. And again, being kept in one of these dark, dank, filthy enclosures. There is a petition to shut down this hellish zoo, and you can find it at this really long link here. I'm not even going to try and read it, but if you go to 911animalabuse.com and type in Wakati, W-A-C-C-A-T-E-E, I'm sure you'll find this page, and at the bottom you can take action on that petition to close down this zoo. This is just one more reason why we need the Big Cat Public Safety Act. The Big Cat Public Safety Act would not stop this place from existing, but it stops so many of the cubs that are being bred right there in Myrtle Beach and used as photo ops. It would stop cubs being bred at places like that and other places where they end up in the pet trade, or they end up being sent to these nasty little zoos when they can no longer keep them for display and to make profit. So stopping the cub handling and stopping the private possession, or phasing it out anyway, is what the Big Cat Public Safety Act does, and that's why it's so important that you guys call your member of Congress every week and ask them to co-sponsor the bill and get it out to the floor for a vote, because it's not going to be until that bill passes that things like this cease to exist. So thank you very much for my rant today, or listening to my rant today, and I hope you'll visit the 911animalabuse.com page and take action on that page. Thank you.